The pit lane will be open shortly, which means it's nearly time for qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix here in Monza.
Information time, we've lost oil pressure. Looks like a leak somewhere in the system. We're on standby for the time being until we can patch it up.
Well, that's probably not the most ideal way to start an episode, but guys, welcome to another video. This is the Italian Grand Prix, episode number 35 of the F1 2018 Career Mode Championship. We had a really good round in the last episode in Spa. Pretty dominant way to conduct the weekend. Check it out if you haven't already, but confidence is very, very high heading into this Italian Grand Prix weekend. The car is very fast in a straight line. Like, we have the third best engine, but I mean, aerodynamically, we have a car that's very, very slippery in a straight line. And that's probably going to be more crucial to our lap time compared to the engine, which is obviously already very good. But here we are in qualifying. I believe this is qualifying 2 here. Just starting our lap. This is actually a really, really good lap. So much so that I wanted to show you this lap as opposed to the entirety of the lap that I do in Q3, because I believe that this lap is actually better than what I do there, just due to the track not being as rubbered in this session. But here we go through the middle sector. 4th gear, you can absolutely float it over the chicane like that. It feels oh so satisfying when you do so. It's very hard to do it, but when you do nail it, it just, it's beautiful. Anyway, middle sector, the 2 Lesmos, 5th gear, flowing the car quite nicely. I think we're running with like 2.6 wings. It's set to rain in the race, so we've gone for a little bit of a compromise setup. I would have gone with like 2.4 wings or 2.5 wings if it was fully dry, but we've got to think about the bigger picture. So we'll sacrifice a little bit of pace in qualifying, but hopefully it should come good at the end of the weekend. Through to the final corner now, you can see we're running an overtake just to maximize the top end speed with the battery through the final corner, Parabolica. 5th gear, I probably braked a little bit early there, but it'll give us a nice exit and a nice run onto the start finish straight across the line. It is a 1 minute 17.8, puts us on provisional pole as we head into qualifying 3, 2/10 clear of Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc there, again, that's a little bit iffy, a little bit shaky there in Q2, and hopefully he can put it together for Q3. Speaking of, we're in that now, the final couple of minutes. We are 4/10 up on our previous best, which was an 18.2. We're definitely going to need to be in the 17s to secure pole today, given that Hamilton did an 18 flat in Q2. I'd imagine that the AI would go a little bit faster. Speaking of, through the final corner, we're up by 4/10, and again, we're going to match our time, 17.8. This time, the AI can't really run with us as well, and it is pole position. Charles getting P2 there to round out our Sauber 1-2, I think, for the second time ever.
Amazing performance out there. You must be really happy. Looks like you had a great qualifying session. It must be a relief being that far up the grid. Are you hoping to have your reliability issues sorted out before qualifying? Appreciate your time.
It's race day here in Italy once again. Monza, home to so many records. The smallest winning margin, for example. Do you remember in 1971, Peter Gethin beat Ronnie Peterson to the line by 1/100th of a second. There were 40 overtakes for the lead alone in 1965, and Kimi Raikkonen clocked a record top speed of 230 miles per hour here, just over a decade ago. So there's a lot to live up to then for all of our drivers today. With the rain coming down here at the 3.6-mile Monza circuit, the low drag setups preferred by most teams could cause them some problems in today's Grand Prix. So watch out for cars struggling for grip around Parabolica, the last and most demanding of this track's 11 corners.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
And we will do that if we can. Welcome, guys, to the grid of the Italian Grand Prix. Light rain. Looks like it's going to dry up towards the end of the race. Could be halfway through. The weather forecast is always a little bit misleading, but heading into this race, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm worried that I haven't put enough downforce on the car. In essence, I think we're still faster than all the other cars in a straight line. Like, we have less downforce than everyone else. I just worry that we may not be up to scratch in these conditions. We haven't done any running on these kind of conditions. It's been dry all weekend, so we're really just delving into the great unknown with this one. Front row of the grid. My teammate alongside. We've taken out a lot of fuel to help get the car through.
Inters look like the best tyre for now.
Thank you. The car is very good in terms of fuel consumption, and I think a lighter car will help the tyre wear. It'll help any kind of issues we may have in this race. We'll have to wait and see though. Hopefully the pace is there. Getting ready for the start of this race now. Coming up to the 5 red lights. Let's turn up the ERS all the way to maximum, and away we go. Absolutely going nowhere off the line, such is the low amounts of grip here in these conditions. Charles steams into the lead of the Grand Prix. We're going to see if we can defend into P2. We've got Raikkonen up our inside, and then we managed to thwart that threat, and we hold on to a Sauber 1-2 in this race so far. But yeah, Tifosi would be going absolutely mad. They're two Italian. Well, Sauber is a Swiss team. I made that mistake of saying it was an Italian team a little bit earlier on in this career mode series, but Alfa Romeo Sauber, Alfa Romeo being an Italian-based car maker, so surely they should be cheering us on this weekend. Team radio.
Inters seem like the fastest tyre for now.
Once again, Jeff, thank you very much for being informative as always. I don't know if there's been a patch that's kind of screwed that up, but I want to know what the weather forecast is. I don't want to know what the better tyre is. I'm pretty sure I know what the better tyre is to be on at the moment. Sort it out, Jeff, because your job is under threat at this stage. But at the moment, pace is a little bit shaky. Charles pulled away in the opening couple of laps, and now we're under threat from Raikkonen. We might go for a dive up the inside into turn 1. He's still looking. Had to leave the space there, and cost me a little bit of time through that first chicane. So yeah, I'm just struggling for grip a little bit at this stage. Carlos Sainz is out of the Grand Prix. Virtual safety car has been deployed as well, which might help us in an effort to save fuel. We've taken out 2 laps of fuel, maybe 2.5 laps is what we started off with, but we have been saving a little bit of fuel at the start of this Grand Prix. I was hoping that it was going to help me out, and yeah, having a lighter car would have looked after the tyres a little bit better. It might be marginal one stop if the intermediate tyres, or making the inters last till the dry period. I just wanted to make sure that we could look after the tyres. But engineer was warning me about Sergio Perez, who has a mechanical problem. It seems he's a long way off the pace. Speaking of, there's a Ferrari that's like backing up a huge train in that middle sector, you'll notice as well. So that is pretty interesting to see. But yeah, early doors, Charles was ridiculously fast. I wasn't, using all of my fuel. I had to save and conserve a little bit in this first stint, but even still, I think Charles was so fast that even if I did have some fuel, I just have this sneaking suspicion that he would have been faster than me anyway, which is a little bit worrying to see that he is mega pacey so far.
Okay, could be a risk with the circuit this greasy, but we think the slick might now be the quicker tyre. If you think you can keep it on the road, let's consider swapping over.
Okay, so just asking the engineer because the track is getting quite dry. I'm not too sure if I want to dive it in on this lap, so I think we might go for an extra lap and pit on the next one. Oh.
DRS has been enabled. DRS is now enabled.
Unbelievable scenes. I thought about pitting that lap. I decided against it. I wanted to play it safe, and now it's going to bite us in the arse big time because Charles is coming in. He's the first driver in the race. We're going to get a slower pit stop here, and we might even stack here behind him if the gap is small enough, which actually it might not be, but still, whenever you service 2 cars on this game, the pit crew just fall apart for the second car, which is lovely treatment. Onto the soft compound tyres, which will easily do the length of this race. I think even the supers or whatever the qualifying tyre is could probably make it from here, but I feel like the middle compound will probably be the better tyre to run in these cooler conditions, and they'll help get tyre temps a little bit easier, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but in my head it usually does in league racing. But anyway, this is Charles making some positions work for him. That's Bottas, who is still out there on the intermediate tyres. We have a bit of a tough time of things on this opening lap on the softs, just coming up to temperature, just having a quick little excursion through the gravel trap. But otherwise, it's P2 for Sauber once again, or 1-2 for Sauber once again, shall I say. And now we are back in the fuel saving game. We actually got to 0.2 of a lap down on fuel, so we're almost in the clear. But then there's this thing on the game where when you switch from wets to dries, it then recalculates the fuel burn, and it set me back another 2 laps to save. So just as I thought I was out of the I was in the clear.
Try to stay with him. He might
Have
make a
to go
mistake.
and mega
Still
fuel
regain
conserve
position.
again. So I thought I'll save fuel. I don't want to waste fuel trying to keep Hamilton behind. It makes sense to let him go. Stay in his slipstream if we can, which we've already lost, by the way. But we have saved all of our fuel now about 5 laps later. So now we can push for the remainder of the Grand Prix, but now we've got to make up the deficit to Hamilton and get P2 in the race again. So a bit of a stuff up on my part, both of the downforce levels and the setup and also the fuel strategy. That was just a surefire way to throw away the race. You can see we've got the pace in the dry, which is what we set the car up for, kind of, but I just got the downforce levels a little bit wrong there. Should have gone maybe 1 or 2 clicks higher on the rear downforce to like 7 or maybe even 8. I think maybe 7 would be fine, but maybe even a touch higher on the front downforce as well, just to get us through the corners in the wet. I just feel like I was lacking a little bit, but here we are in the dying stages of the Italian Grand Prix now. In the dry, we are really making hay. Is that the phrase? I'm not good at phrases, so I don't say them. But anyway, there's 2 laps to go. We're closing in on Hamilton, setting like purple lap after purple lap. The track is getting warmer. The track is rubbering in and actually still drying at this stage, so it's taken a while for the track to get to its optimal stage, but we are getting there and we're getting faster, and we're just coming into the game a whole lot more as the track dries up. This is the last lap of the Grand Prix we're coming on to now. Fastest lap in the slipstream at Hamilton. Overtake road is engaged to the outside. P2. Thank you very much. Just make sure you pull up the car at turn 1, and we should have that position fairly well covered off. We used up pretty much all of our fuel there. Most of our battery as well is pretty much drained, and we're going to use up all of it now in an effort to keep Hamilton behind. The slipstream is so damn powerful. Would have been an interesting race to see what would have happened if the race was completely dry. It would have been a huge slipstream fest, possibly involving the top 3 cars. I'm not too sure how that would have gone, but the rain kind of separated the men from the boys, as it were, between the car performance. But Charles Leclerc wins the Grand Prix pretty convincingly there. I think it was like 10 or 15 seconds. I didn't think I lost that much time in fuel saving, but I think it was just a lack of pace in this round in particular, which really left us exposed. For us, it'll be P2, 18 points, another 1-2 for Sauber. Congrats to my teammate Charles this weekend, who just completely bossed it.
Well done, good finish. You stepped up and achieved what we asked. Good job.
So another fantastic victory for Sauber today. Tell me, Ant, what was the key to this success?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
So here they come out now onto the podium after a thrilling Grand Prix. It just goes to show what a strong position the sport is in, that these independent teams can be so competitive. What a superb victory from the Sauber team.
I've been saying it for a very long time, and finally it happens. Charles gets a clean weekend. He leads from the front and he stays there. If anything, yeah, you saw what happened. He completely pulled away from us in that Grand Prix. We had nothing really to answer with in the wet. He was ridiculously fast and he wins by 18 seconds in the end. Outrageous. And I even think I was a bit faster in the dry and the dying lap, so perhaps his lead was even greater than what he ended with. So pretty outrageous race. 1-2 for Sauber. There's Tifosi. I'm not too sure how they'll feel about that, but I think they'll be somewhat happy that the little brother team, or should I say maybe the new big brother team, won the Italian Grand Prix. For us, driver standings, we're leading by an absolute mile now. I think that we pretty much got one hand on the trophy. I don't think that's been too much of a shock to you guys for quite a while now. It's just a case of when we win the championship now. So we'll see if we can secure that as quickly as possible. Same for the constructors. I think the constructors is more of a secure standing in the points right now than what the drivers is at the moment, because yeah, we're both performing now, and some of the other teams seem to be a little bit shaky. They only have one driver up there per weekend. But upgrade wise, we got 2,000 resource points. We passed one of our objectives. I think it was a points-based objective, so 500 or 600 points boost there, and we're going to go for a major drag reduction upgrade. No, it's not major, it's ultimate drag reduction upgrade. So that should be a pretty handy one to go on the car in a few races' time. But we now fast forward to the Japanese Grand Prix. I feel like there wasn't too much action in that Italian Grand Prix, so I decided to bundle these two together. And we'll see how we go. We had the ultimate tyre wear upgrade go on the car, and we also had a rear downforce upgrade go on the car in time for this race. So an even further boost in performance, but you'll notice that Red Bull have pretty much gone with us as well to leapfrog both Ferrari and Mercedes to be the second best team and right up there with us. So it'll be interesting to see how fast Red Bull is this weekend. I don't know whether they went for performance-based upgrades like engine power, downforce, weight reduction. We don't know. It could be tire wear based stuff, so we'll have to keep a close eye on those guys this weekend. But qualifying 2, we managed to get into the top 10 with the ultra soft tire, so the middle compound of choice for the weekend, so we'll have a bit more flexibility for the race, so that should be pretty good for us. But heading into Q3, we have rain, so that'll definitely throw a spanner into the works. Thankfully, I was already running with high downforce anyway, so it shouldn't be too much of a setup issue for us. But as we go out on circuit for Q3, we're just like Bambi on ice through the third sector. The heavy rain set in very, very quickly. It started off as light rain. It went to heavy rain almost instantaneously, and the lap that we did was completely crap. We were like 5 seconds off the pace from our teammate Charles, and now we're going to have to go out again at the end of the session on full wet tyres on a track that is actually just about to start drying. So I believe I had a similar scenario to this in league racing or another career mode race at USA, I believe, where I just got the timing completely wrong, and I hope this isn't the case here. But so far we look like we're up by a couple of tenths on our previous best, so that's encouraging. But as we get towards the end of the lap, the track is going to dry up, and we may potentially gain a whole load of time because that's where we were slowest in the last lap, or we could gain a whole shed load of time if the track holds out. But it looks like it's doing the latter there. 2.5 seconds up, almost 3 seconds, as this is the place where we were just sliding and not going in a forwards direction. So we'll see if we can recover to a decent position. Like I said, we were 5 seconds off the pace on our first lap. Charles was ahead by a good margin. I'd say like 7 tenths versus the next closest car. So if we can put in a good time here, hopefully we can be in the top 5 through the final corner. We're still finding time, and it's going to be a 5-second improvement, which puts us right with our teammate on the front row of the grid, 1 tenth away. That is so close. Honestly, I didn't think we were going to get a good track position for the start of this race, let alone almost come within a whisker of actually snatching pole there. That was a pretty crazy recovery there. I don't know why, anyone else didn't improve there, because the track felt pretty fast on the wets. It's just a miracle that we did get as close as we did on the slower tyre in slower kind of conditions in the end there. But heading into the race now, we've really fast forwarded through this video. I just want to keep it under like 30 minutes, which I think we might just about do. We're going to go for the race now. We've done another upgrade, which is the rear downforce upgrade, the major one, which I actually thought we did coming into this race, but no, I've actually done it now, so I got confused. Heading into this race, we got a front downforce upgrade, so that is why we're perhaps a little bit stronger coming into this one, but otherwise, we are in a good position for this race once again. 1-2 for Sauber. Let's convert it in the race.
As the sun sets over the South China Sea, the sport that never sleeps is alert and raring to go. Welcome, under the bright lights of the Marina Bay Circuit, to another Singapore Grand Prix.
Right then, it is race time for this Singapore Grand Prix. Still 1-2 on the grid for Sauber. Thankfully, no grid penalties coming into effect for us. That was something I was actually quite worried about, both in Monza and in this one, that Charles was going to get demoted to like last or something, but good to see that he won't have any issues for this race, hopefully. Tyre strategy, it says we can do ultras twice to hyper softs. We didn't do a race strategy practice program, so we don't know what the true tyre wear is of this car until we actually get into the race. But I believe we might actually be able to get away with doing a one-stop ultra softs to hypers. The tyre wear never really is as bad as what it forecasts it to be in the race, so hopefully we can get away with one less stop, and my teammate can follow suit in this one as well. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. 5 red lights. It's Sauber versus Sauber off the front row, and it looks like Charles gets the ascendancy. Only just though, but we'll have the inside for turn 1. Side by side for the two of us. We're still squabbling for position to see who can get the lead of the Grand Prix, and Charles comes out on top. So a nice start from him. He is on the Hypersoft tyre. We're on the Ultras, so there is a slight advantage for my teammate there, but he kind of bottles it there into turn 4. We take the lead of the Grand Prix once again, and now we can control the pace from the front, hopefully. This is going to make it awkward in the next few laps because Charles is going to have the pace. We're going to have better tyre wear. We're not going to have as good a pace, but he'll have to bide his time behind me. We'll have to wait and see how his strategy pans out, starting from the Hypersoft tyres. I think he might be committed to doing a 2-stop race, given that he qualified on those tyres as well. And the Hypers, yeah, the fact that I don't have to qualify on those and I can chuck them on at the end means that I can do more laps on them. Kimi Räikkönen out of the Grand Prix so early on in this race, just 3 laps in, he had an engine failure, just pulling off to the side on the back straight, and hopefully, no, he doesn't get tangled up with any back markers in the process. That so often happens when you're in the pack, which Kimi was being the start of the race, but we're pulling away at the front. Surprisingly, we had the pace over the Hypersoft runners, so it looks like their tyres just completely died off from the start. I know that rear tyre temperatures is a pretty hard thing to keep control of on those tyres, especially with heavy fuel, so those guys are really struggling early doors. But here, this is where we're going to earn our money today in this race. We've got to stick it out very long, make sure that we keep our tyres in check. The tyre wear actually isn't too bad as we come on to lap 6, only like just under 20%, so we could probably do another 10, 15 laps possibly, and get these tyres to a point where we can put the Hypers on. But Brendan Hartley coming up with issues in the first stint of this race. He'll be coming to a very slow crawl back to that pit lane. Virtual safety car gets deployed, and if anything, that just helps me because it allowed me to cool out my tyres and just save even more fuel. Again, in this race, we decided to lower the fuel load to look after the tyres, but we didn't take it to the extreme that we did in Monza. I don't think we'll ever do that again. That was just silly how much time we lost trying to save the tyres. But really, for me, nothing was really happening. I was just circulating in the lead, keeping to a good pace. I was actually pulling away from the cars behind me, apart from Charles. Charles was mega fast on his ultra-soft tyres, but he's coming again after only a very short stint on the same set of tyres that I'm on right now. So he literally did 10 laps on those tyres and decided to get rid of them. So I thought there was some kind of problem for him. I checked his front wing in the pit stop. He didn't change that, so it was a scheduled stop, which was really weird, but he goes around the outside of Sebastian Vettel to take back P2 in this race, and he's now on the soft compound tyres, which are going to be, I don't know, just as fast, maybe even slower than the tyres I'm already on, which have already done 20 laps in this Grand Prix. So again, it's another case of like Spa, I think it was, where we overcut everyone on harder compounded tyres who were slower than us. We had track position, we didn't have to deal with any traffic, and we just kept to a good pace. So again, it looks like it's going to be one of those races where no one can really challenge us, which is kind of, I don't know, it's frustrating, but at the same time, we're not doing anything wrong and we're coming out on top. So onto the Hypersoft tyres we go. We took the Ultrasoft tyres like 23 laps into the Grand Prix, which is absolutely ridiculous, and now we can really flex the muscles on the faster compounded tyre. The gap to Leclerc was like 40 seconds before the pit stop. It came down to about 15, and now the gap is gonna elongate even further on these mega fast tyres. We're going to be 3 compounds faster than our teammate, which is absolutely ridiculous, and we're going to be pretty much pushing every lap because we have the fuel to do so the remaining laps. Through the final couple of corners, that's a bit of a corner cut at the final chicane there, which might disallow our lap. That's contact as well at the Singapore Flyer. Is that what it's called? I swear that corner has a name. But anyway, through the final corner, we do a 34, which is absolutely outrageous pace, not too far away from what would be a qualifying time. Across the line for our first legitimate lap, and that was a 35.7. So yeah, shame about that corner cut, but it is what it is. We're going to get fastest up anyway. We're going to win the Grand Prix and come away with another 25 points here at the end of this very long race. 3-second time penalty, that really, honestly, it just has absolutely no effect on my race, such as the gap back to my teammate Charles. I think it's like close to 20 seconds now, but pretty heavy traffic now through the final couple of corners. Hopefully these guys don't take us out, and that should be us winning this Grand Prix. Once again, 25 points. If the championship wasn't already secure, it certainly is now. GG's.
Yes, you've done it. Well done.
Tell me, Ant, what was the key to this success?
Well, I think the track conditions just really suited their car today. Wind, track temperature, you name it. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature. So the more easily you can keep them there, the better your race tends to go. And that's exactly what happened. Their car just looks so comfortable out there.
Looks like they're on their way out to the podium now, and what a result this is, and what a popular one with the crowd as well. Great stuff to see the Sauber team on top here today.
So there it is, guys. Another win. I've got to be honest, even I'm getting a bit sick of this. But yeah, Anthony Davison, he actually brought up a really good point there about the tyre temperatures. I thought it was worth mentioning, and I did show it in some of the telemetry over the course of the race. The tyre temps never really seemed to get out of the operating window, which really kept us in the game. But when I looked at it from the telemetry, like it said I was getting like 115, 116 degrees on the right rear at some points, which if you do that online, you'd be spinning out and you'd be in the side of a barrier somewhere, which is weird that you can get those kind of levels in career mode. Maybe the tire wear upgrades are allowing higher temperatures to take the tires longer. I don't know, that's really weird. Maybe I should look at that in online and see if that is actually possible going through corners like that, because as soon as you hit 105 degrees in online, it's GG. But anyway, pretty big win. Nothing really to talk about, to be honest, so I thought I'd talk about the tyre temperatures. 20 seconds was the gap to our teammates. 58 points now is the difference in the driver's standing. So Hamilton is kind of falling away. Charles is rising to meet the challenge, and it looks like Hamilton might possibly be under threat if this kind of form keeps up in the remaining races of the season. But guys, hopefully you enjoyed this race and the last one as well. I decided to bundle these two together since there wasn't all too much going on in the same episode. I've also gone ahead and recorded Russia, but I can tell you that is a pretty action-packed Grand Prix. So if you're worried about the lack of action, you will certainly enjoy the next episode. So until then, the Russian Grand Prix, thank you guys so much for watching. We only have 500 resource points to spend at the end of this episode because we did an upgrade just before the race. We might just about be able to go for some kind of durability upgrade going forward for the rest of the season. So we'll do that. I think it's the control electronics we upgrade, and that'll get us through to the next episode, and will help us look after, I think, pretty much every component in the power unit. That's what the control electronics does. But guys, that's it for today. Until the next episode, the Russian Grand Prix. I'll see you guys next time.